Do you yearn for simpler times? Times when things weren't so insane. Times when absurd evil didn't run rampant in the world. A time when you could walk out your door and not be overcome with the existential dread of this existence. Well, I feel the same way. And I can't remember where I read this, and I couldn't find a source for this, but I read somewhere once that the reason that we love medieval fantasy is because it is so much easier to feel like we can turn back time and fix all of the wrongs in the past than it is for us to look to the future and see that anything can be fixed at all. That's why a lot of movies and literature, things based in the future, are incredibly dystopian because we just can't imagine that the future would be kind, which is a sad state of affairs. And I think this is a really interesting concept because this yearning for simpler times and simple solutions to complex problems, I think, is the main appeal of superhero content. Superheroes are these awesome beings that can fix everything. And they can fix everything with their gifts given to them by God or the universe or the luck of the gene pool. And they aren't like us. They're not weak, feeble human beings. They are heroes. And unlike us, they have the power to fix everything that is broken and wrong in this world, which, just like the medieval fantasy, is the fantasy of imagining things being far simpler than they are. It's a fantasy of someone coming to save us, which I might add is the core idea behind why people look to strongmen authoritarians and, dare I say, fascist leaders. Because when things seem so hopeless and so broken, it's hard for us not to look to someone who claims they have all the solutions to fix all of this, everything that's wrong in the world. And to quote Alan Moore, the creator of Watchmen, talking about the superhero genre, I said around about 2011 that I thought it had serious and worrying implications for the future if millions of adults were queuing up to see Batman movies, because that kind of infantilization, that urge towards simpler times and simpler realities, that can very often be a precursor to fascism. And I think he's quite right. But to get into why he's right, we need to go back in time and talk about Nietzsche. And I promise we will get to the boys. See, Nietzsche wrote about this idea of the Übermensch, or in English, Superman. Well, actually, the literal translation is Overman, but it also means Superman. But the Übermensch was a concept Nietzsche wrote about depicting a person who transcends ordinary human limitations and creates their own values in the absence of moral absolutes. And Nietzsche wrote about this in a time of the receding influence of religious faiths.
Oh, don't grovel. One thing I can't stand, it's people groveling. Sorry.
And the rise of intellectualism and scientific rationalism.
Does a wood sink in water?
No,
it floats.
For him, the Übermensch was an idea of an extraordinary person that everyone could aspire to be, that could fill a religious-shaped hole in society, an individual who could transcend the traditional religious moral codes that were no longer relevant in a post-religious society. And throughout time, throughout human history, we have created gods, or extraordinary human beings to look up to emulate, to strive to be like. And the concept of the Übermensch was just another version of the same story, but in a world that would be free of the restrictive moralities of religion and based on intellectual rigor and scientific realism. As an idea, the Übermensch was born out of rational thought, but in action, it is a wildly irrational way to view ourselves and the world, as we are about to find out. I'm talking about this with you guys because I think it's an interesting way to look at the boys. Because The Boys not only weaves together all of these concepts of extraordinary beings who create their own moral codes, and people look up to them as a way to simplify and fix their crazy, chaotic world. And superheroes who can just punch the evil in this world into submission. But The Boys goes a step further with the concept of the Übermensch than what Nietzsche wrote about. For Nietzsche, the Übermensch, or superhero, was a being that we could all look to and strive to be like in the absence of God. But The Boys says, what if we take these extraordinary beings and we wrap them in the delusional lie that they are ordained by God himself? Which is what Vought does, and is exactly what the Nazis did with the concept of the Übermensch. And what the Nazis did, and what Homelander does, is they both wrap themselves as the Übermensch in the flag of their country and proclaim that only true Germans or true Americans understand the correct order of things. And those who don't understand the correct order of things are vermin and should be cast out and destroyed. Like with in the Boys universe, there's this perverse relationship between heroes and Christianity that is entirely manufactured by Vought. The Supes in the Boys, in the Calvinist sense, are the chosen. They are not from God, they're not Christ, but they are chosen by God to shepherd us into the correct way of living. And also, like with Calvinism, everyone who is not a part of the chosen must be tainted and beneath them and cast out from the ranks of the chosen, which is how Homelander views humanity. They are weak, they are feeble, they are not chosen like he is, they are not powerful, and they are tainted and disgusting and gross and subhuman. Actually, they're worse than subhuman because he doesn't even see himself as human, so they're just human, and he's, the Übermensch. And The Boys as a show uses two fundamental concepts of storytelling when it comes to heroic archetypes. On the one hand, you have Homelander and his basket of deplorables, where they seek to make the world in their own image and rise above the disgusting, tainted humans and their morals and traditions and just grossness. And really, Homelander and all of his cronies are really the ideal of superheroes. Whether it is Batman, Superman, Iron Man, or Wolverine, all of these characters have their own moral codes and ethoses that often go against the morals and traditions of the world, for better or worse. Homelander is no different from them. He has ultimate power like Superman, and Superman is often at odds with the way the world wants to do things and the way humanity wants to do things, and he knows best. But it's taking Superman, obviously, and this is not profound, it's taking Superman and just inverting him into this bizarro, character that is Homelander. And so let's call this archetype, this superhero archetype, the John Wayne-styled hero. He's the quickest gun in the West who can defeat any enemy through his own sheer grit and determination. But notably, the movie True Grit has it's the exact opposite of this message, but nuance kills analogies. The Boys, on the other hand, represent an archetypal hero that is an everyman.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
I was always kind of partial to Roy Rogers, actually. I really like those sequin shirts.
They are unremarkable compared to their nemesis. They are just humans with no powers. And even when they try to gain powers, there is a steep cost to be paid.
10 feet is going to kill you both.
Well,
Okay? It turns your brain into Swiss cheese, so please be honest with me and tell me, how many doses have you taken?
How long ago?
Months. 12, 18 on the outside.
But like in all the everyman tales, if they work together, even though they're just humble, ordinary people, if they work together, they can save each other and themselves. And this is a very common theme in 20th century movies, TV, and literature. High Noon is about what happens when people are unwilling to save each other, which if you haven't seen my video on Fallout, go watch it after this. And It's a Wonderful Life is about how the average person can have a remarkable and profound impact on their communities. And even Die Hard is just about an average Joe cop and his average Joe buddy working together to save the day. I discuss both It's a Wonderful Life and Die Hard in my video, Why Die Hard is a Christmas Movie. Go watch that after this as well. But, you know, nobody's watching this. Nobody's watching me. Nobody's watching me. That's fine. I enjoy doing this. I like doing this. I don't care if people don't watch it. I don't do this for you. I do it for me. And, you know, screaming into the void is what we do on the internet. And that is my passion. That is my passion in life. But the movie that perfectly encapsulates the message of we have to save each other is Lord of the Rings. The entire point of Lord of the Rings is that no one is ultimately coming to save us. Yes, you have a Christ-like character in Frodo who is carrying the burden of the world, but even Frodo succumbs to that evil in the end. And yes, we have a few divine interventions and moonshots and Hail Marys that get our heroes out of a bind. But at the end of the story and at the end of the day, Frodo needed Sam to carry him to the crack of doom. And they both needed Aragorn and the gang to do a kamikaze bum rush on the Black Gates to buy them time. And even with all of that heroism and bravery, the ring and evil was only destroyed because Gollum slipped and fell. It was a thing of chance. It was a coin toss of fate that evil was destroyed that day. And Tolkien even says so in his letters. He points out that it was just a thing of chance that the ring was even destroyed in the first place. And the point being to Lord of the Rings is that if we work together to save each other, with a little bit of luck, we may have a fighting chance against evil. And to quote Gandalf himself,
"Why the halfling?"
I do not know. Saruman believes that it is only a great power that can hold evil in check. But that is not what I have found. I found it is the small things, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keeps the darkness at bay. Simple acts of kindness and love. Why? You'll go back in. Perhaps it is because I'm afraid, but it gives me courage.
And so after this beautiful expose of Gandalf, the greatest mentor character ever created, you might be thinking, well, actually, Travis, what about these guys? Well, look, I'm going to make another video about the superhero genre in more detail and how it a lot of times leans towards authoritarianism, which, believe it or not, these guys, they fit into that. So stay tuned for another video. But if you gain anything from this video, I want you to know that there are two types of heroic archetypes in our stories. There's the everyman hero, who shows that ordinary individuals can have a profound impact on their community. And then there are superheroes, or the Übermensch, whose stories emphasize with great power comes great responsibility. Superhero stories often focus on becoming powerful enough to protect the community, while everyman hero tales highlight the profound impact ordinary folks can have on their community as they are. Again, this is Hobbits versus Superman. or John Wayne, or whatever my analogy was.
I was always kind of partial to Roy Rogers, actually.
And what The Boys is really doing masterfully is it's pitting these two heroic archetypes against each other and having them battle each other in a bitter war of attrition, where the boys, in working together and helping each other grow beyond their feeble human physical limitations, they fight and overcome those who have no physical limits at all. But I mean, to be fair, Homelander most certainly has a lot of limitations. He is a whining, spiteful, revenge-seeking crybaby. He certainly has many, many, many deep psychological and emotional flaws. Like a lot. And the real juxtaposition of Homelander and the boys, the real difference between the two, is that unlike Homelander, who rejects all of his flaws and rejects all of the internal mess that makes him human, the boys as a group help each other grow past all of their mess, all of their trauma, all of their wounds, and grow past and overcome their worst impulses as human beings. But this is also what makes Homelander a perfect foil for Butcher, whose hero's journey is not an external one to defeat his enemies. It is an internal one to make peace with his painful past and to make peace with who he is and to overcome his worst impulses based in all of that hate and pain. So what does all of this have to do with fascism? I've talked about it a little bit, but to get to the original point of this video, when we look at the history of fascism and authoritarians who have come to power through a democratic process, it's generally in a time of great strife, uncertainty, and a mountain of complicated problems with no easy solutions. But what guys like Homelander and these demons do is they tell the public that only they and they alone can fix this mess. And they wrap themselves in the flag of nationalism and say that they are ordained by God himself to save us. Now, if you are thinking that there are people out there that are talking like this and are doing these things and projecting these kinds of emotions and talking points and these kinds of things onto society recently, you wouldn't be wrong. These leaders are the Übermensch, or the superhero archetype. And again, Nazis even use the idea of the Übermensch in their propaganda. They are leaders who live outside the confines of the morals of the everyday person. And because they have the unique, extraordinary perspective to fix all of this and to remake the world into the correct order of things, a purer order, a simpler order, based in lies and delusions, not based in reality at all. And if you want to know more about the concept of truth and illusion and how we all live in it in our everyday lives, go watch my video on Eyes Wide Shut. It's all about truth and illusion. And all of this is why The Boys is about fascism. As Alan Moore, the creator of The Watchmen, said while talking about superhero movies as a genre. Because that kind of infantilization, that urge towards simpler times, simpler realities, that can very often be a precursor to fascism. And Homelander is not a fascist because he's a big meanie. He's a fascist because he tells the public that only he and he alone can fix all the world's problems. And he wraps himself in the flag of nationalism and of God to ordain himself the savior, while also seeing all of his followers as the true citizens of his country. And all of the ones that disagree or don't fit into the group are tainted scum that he will dominate to his will on behalf of the chosen few. He, like all fascists, wraps himself in the flag of nationalism and in God and proclaims himself the savior of the true citizens of his country. And like all fascists, he will cleanse his country of those he and his followers see not as worthy to hold the title of citizenship. So what is the solution to this problem? How do we defeat such an evil, perverse worldview that thrives in reducing reality down to protecting the chosen and punishing its tainted masses? A worldview that is based on nothing more than hate and resentment. Well, just like in Lord of the Rings, we must work together to save each other. No one is coming to save us. It is a false reality. The Boys even says as much by staging all of their saves. All the time superheroes save people, it's not real. They're rehearsed publicity stunts. And so what is reality, and not the manufactured simple solutions to complex problems like Vought paints in the Boys universe and what the Nazis painted in Germany. What is reality is that evil can only be defeated, and this mess can only be fixed by us ordinary people working together to pull each other out of this mess. In conclusion, with all of this in mind, when anyone says they are the only person who can fix all of this mess, and that only they have the special ability to do it, and that they will make the system work for the chosen few, just know that is probably a fascist talking. The fascist loves to reduce the complex, messy world we live in down to the simplest of solutions that only they and they alone can fix. But this is a lie. Evil cannot be defeated by the Übermensch, but it can be overcome with a little bit of luck if us, ordinary people, work together to do the hard work day in and day out to save each other and ourselves.
Why the halfling?
I do not know. Saruman believes that it is only a great power that can hold evil in check. But that is not what I have found. I found it is the small things, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keeps the darkness at bay. Simple acts of kindness and love. Why? You'll go back it. Perhaps it is because I'm afraid, but it gives me courage.
Hey folks, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I like yelling into the void on the internet. Like I said, it's what we do. It's what we do here. And I would like to do more of this. So throw me a like, comment, subscribe. It could be a mean comment. It could be a positive comment. I don't care. Just comment. Leave a comment. I love you. Bye.